Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. Today we're going to have an Ask Bear episode on Thirumanam, Thadam and 90 ml, which is the hottest topic in town apparently in every sense of the word. So Shruti R wants to know, what's your take on the common opinion, quote, I don't approve of it, that 90 ml would mislead young girls while young guys should treat masala movies as just entertainment and not inspiration. Is it that we young girls would be misled, not sensible? I really don't believe that guys have to be treated a separate way in order to watch their movies, and girls are going to watch movies and immediately get inspired by everything that's happening on screen, and therefore they need to be protected and all that. But let's also take a look at the guy adult comedy that 90 ml has been compared to. This is not an adult comedy or a sex comedy in that sense of the word. Like for instance, in Trishal and Nayanthara, you have that scene where GV Prakash, kind of has two milk packets in his hand and he's squeezing them. It was very obvious reference to you know what, and there's nothing like that here because it's not seeking to titillate the audience. What's happening here is, for the first time, we are hearing a version of girls' locker room talk. And that's, I think, making people uncomfortable. And let me tell you, this happens a lot. When girls get together, they do talk about stuff. I mean, it's not like they're going to be talking about, fashion and this and that all the time. They're going to be talking about boys. They're going to be talking about how they don't get enough sex. They're going to be, one of the things that you see in this movie, 90 ml, is how girls talk about, how they're dissatisfied with breast size or whatever. That would never happen in a movie led by a guy, because no hero will actually come up and say, I wish my equipment was bigger or something like that. That will never happen. So you're talking about, and notice another thing, all of these girls have problems which need to be solved. It's just that they happen to be in the sex department and not in a sleazy way. One woman's husband is not giving her enough attention. He's not sleeping with her, so she's frustrated. Things like that. So she's not saying, I'm going to go and look out for the first guy on the streets and kind of sleep with him or something like that. She's looking to fix this problem. So I think maybe the fact that women are being so frank and open about their lives, their sex lives and things like that, I think that's what's causing all this uproar. And no, I don't think women need to be protected from this, because first of all, this is an A film, so there is no question of some young person being dragged to the movie and things like that. Because if you go to a movie without after watching a trailer and you're still taking young people along like a child or something with you, that's your problem, not the movie's problem. I'm not saying that this is some great classic movie or something like that, but see it for what it is. It's not an adult comedy in that sense. It's more like a women get together and fix their problems in a light-hearted way. Just because the problems have to involve certain sexual issues, the humor takes that tone, but otherwise it's not. I'm not saying that it's completely innocent and is not trying to titillate you or something like that, but that's fun. There's a like, the women are defined more by their relationships to each other rather than by the fact that they're giving all this sex talk. So I don't find much of a problem there. Jyoti has a question about STR's music. You haven't mentioned anything about STR's part. His music and cameo added enormous value to the film. I don't know. When I was watching the music didn't work for me. So I guess in fact, somebody else had a comment about that. I don't know if I can find that right now. But yeah, I think the music kind of didn't work for me. So I kind of missed that in the movie review. And then Amit Joki asks, Oviya was marvelous and certainly has a mass presence. The film was good. Do you think the film would have been tighter and well gelled if not for the darring out of tune songs? Yeah, this is the comment. The narrative device is irksome. Yeah, the songs were kind of really out of place, and I felt they were kind of going in a different zone than this girls solving each other problems kind of thing. It was more like, I think one girl's hanging out and having like a night out kind of song might have been okay, but every song was pretty much in the same zone, so they felt very repetitive. Victor Alfred says, when KB sir can graciously step into TV once his films start working mainstream, why don't Cheran, KS Ravikumar, Shankar and other outdated directors can't let their ego off and get into web series or something that will suit them the best? Cheran should stop moral policing. See, there's two aspects to this question here. Should anyone stop moral policing? Definitely, because those old days of message movies are gone. But I don't think Shankar is outdated. Yeah, this is like 2.0 is one of the biggest hits of the recent past. So I don't know about whether you can include Shankar in this list at all. But Cheran, why doesn't he step into TV? I think because TV, the space is already taken by mega serials. Thirumanam looks like a mega serial. It's not like he's adding anything new to this. So I don't know if even TV will work. But what surprises me is this. It's like he made very good cinema once. When you look at Tavamai Tavamirindu and parts of Autograph, there's a cinematic mind at work there. I think what was most shocking about Thirumanam is how that has completely gone. I mean, see, material is something you can understand because the best of directors sometimes end up with material they believe in and then the material doesn't work and then they end up not making such a great movie. But the directorial talents, the staging, the finesse, the way they handle actors, the way they choreograph scenes, all that is still there. But that is not the case here. It looks like so amateurish, it's very hard to believe this is the same man who made those parts of Autograph or Tavamai Tavamirindu or films like that. So that's, I think, more the bigger problem. Siddharth says, in my opinion, Cheran could very well make his presence felt in the K.S. Gopalakrishnan zone, but sadly finds any takers for his type of cinema. Has it got to do with the wholesome change in public taste, or we just stopped enjoying good old-fashioned dramas? See, I think even if Balachandran made his movies today, they will not find any takers because it's not that the audience taste has changed. People will watch it on Netflix or Amazon or whatever it is, or when it comes on TV. The question is, will the audience that goes and pays money and buys tickets for a theatre experience, will they watch this movie? No, probably not. Because that audience has now stopped visiting theatres to a large extent and they prefer to watch stuff at home and other platforms. So that is the real problem rather than tastes having changed. Of course, tastes have changed over time. A melodrama of the kind that K.S. Gopalakrishnan made will probably not work today. But even the tweaked kind, I don't know if you tweak it to modern day audiences, whether they'll watch it to that extent because today's audience, that theatre going audience, which obviously decides which kind of movies get made, they won't buy it. Avinash Shekhar asks, is Thadam a screenplay driven movie or a character driven movie? Is it really necessary to title this movie as a real life story? I don't think they've titled this movie as a real life story. They've just said that Magizh Thirumeni has said that there are certain real life incidents that have happened that inspired him to make this story. See, it is definitely more screenplay driven than character driven because it's more about how things happen than who those things happen to and how that person changes. So if you notice, there's not much change in terms of what the characters themselves are at the beginning of the film, the middle of the film and the end of the film. The change is it's more about manipulating the audience into believing something, and that is always the point of a screenplay rather than the character. Afruddin says, for Thirumanam you have given 1.5 stars. Oh, come on. But for 90 ml you have 2.5 stars. I can't understand your analysis. Can you please explain it? Because stars are given for the 750th time on what a movie sets out to do and how it achieves it, and Thirumanam doesn't achieve its goals. 90 ml at least somewhat achieves its goals. Therefore, again for the 750th time, this is what the star ratings are. Srinivas R says, how do you see Cheran's inconsistency from Autograph and Tavamai Tavamirindu to this? How does a creator lose his touch? We just discussed this some time back. I don't know. Maybe it's a lack of confidence. I don't know how a creator loses his touch. Maybe they think that this can happen in two ways. One is a creator can say, this is what people like to see me do, and therefore I'm going to do that. And that's not what people want to watch anymore. Because like today, if you make a Pandavar Bhumi, will people watch? It's a genuine question. I don't know. It's like, it's out there. What about an Autograph? If you make an Autograph today, you make it like a 96, it kind of works. Though Thirumanam, it of course says that an Autograph and 96 are different. 96 worked to a large extent. It worked very well. It was a huge hit as well. I think what is most important is to present movies in a way that, I'm only talking about theatrical success. I'm not talking about quality or other intangible things. To present movies in a way that the theatre going audience likes it, like we said before. And Cheran used to have it. Based on his last few films, he doesn't seem to have it. And I don't know why, what happened. It's one of the sadder things because he was one of the people whose films you kind of look forward to. Dark Devil Studio asks, do you think that the genre legal thriller, which the director has said, been justified in the film Thadam? I don't know if he said legal thriller or if you're saying legal thriller, but this is not a legal thriller as such. It's a sense, it's not like anything to do with law. It has more to do with, it's a thriller. It's a psychological thriller because it kind of plays mind games, and I think it kind of keeps the audience at the edge of the seat about which of the two Arun Vijay is the character that you think did the whole thing. So I don't think it's a legal thriller at all. I would say it's kind of a Hitchcockian man But that's what the earlier twin dramas were, because in earlier twin dramas you usually had, I wrote this in my review, one guy would do something, the other guys would be on the run, he would be innocent but people would suspect him and therefore he would be on the run. But this is not that kind of movie either, so it's a fairly unique way of treating the twin in this movie, and I don't think it's a legal thriller at all. Madan says, do you think the coincidences in the second half of Thadam were too conveniently written? How can they be improved? For example, hospital records damaged by floods, an old lover reappears. These are the things that kind of made the film a little less, in my opinion, because they had to maintain the fact that there was no evidence at all leading to this. Everything, it became, after a point, the screenplay became like, okay, let's remove this, let's remove that, let's remove that, let's promise a DNA test and then let's see what we can do with that. It appeared a little contrived and, like you say, it was conveniently written. So I think they could have found better ways to do this. Like, let's say if those hospital records, instead of being damaged by floods, okay, I'm going to spoil this a bit here. So let's say one of the bad guys themselves went and damaged it, anticipating this event. And then you kind of realize that's what happened. See, that might be a little more interesting than some random natural event like floods, So that's what I'm saying. It's conveniently written, but for me, it felt a little like, oh wow, I mean, having done so much, why can't they work a little more on this? But it didn't kill the movie for me. Movie worked. Batman Da says, I personally felt the messages and 90 ml were much needed, but the screenplay and dialogues were meh. I also felt the trailer was misleading because it wasn't a sleaze fest. I wish it had more humor. Yeah, it was not a sleaze fest at all. The trailer was misleading, but I think that's why it got a lot of attention. The screenplay was a bit of a problem, yes, because the thing is, I wish the scenes like the one where Oviya breaks up with her boyfriend, I think they needed to be a little better written, because it seems so sudden and random, and the way she is like, yes, I understand that you want to show she's independent and she does this, I live my way the way I want it and all that, but this just seemed like way too much. I also have an issue with when you say the messages are 90 ml, I don't think 90 ml itself gives some messages, I think it's more like the message of the circumstances around the movie is like, would we go and encourage a movie in which women talk about their most intimate details, just like we go to a movie and watch a bunch of guys putting some saraka and kind of talking about, the details of their life? So I think that's the real thing that we're talking about here, rather than something. So as a movie itself, yes, there's a lot here that could be bettered, but as I think 90 ml is more because the first time something like this has come to us, that's the real message, I think, here. S3 Post says, am I the only one who got a feeling of the movie Johnny while watching Thadam? I saw a review of Thadam, no one mentioned about it. Is it because of spoiler? It's a well-made film, but it reminds you of Johnny. Yeah, I guess. But the thing is, again, I don't think it's a question of one guy being suspected as, like, instead of the other. It's more like, I think the crucial scene here, again, I'm going to try not to spoil anything. The crucial scene here is when you think the villain has been caught, brought to the police station, but you think that cannot be the villain, because usually that's not what happens in these movies. But then a few minutes later, somebody else lands up in the police station, arrested, and he's sitting down there. I think that is the point that really changes the movie, because till then you think it's a fairly conventional movie. But this changes everything, because it goes against every movie like this you've seen in terms of basing a plot on twins. So on that note, I'm going to end this episode of Ask VR. Thank you so much for sending in all your questions. We will meet again next week. We're going to try to make this a weekly feature, so that even if we don't, not just wait for the big movies, so that even if we don't, we can combine 2 or 3 movies in one episode and talk about it. So see you next week, and keep watching Film Companion South.